Hey everybody, Sean Sewell with Engearment.com podcast. Got a really exciting episode today. We get to talk to the CEO and founder of Outdoor Vitals, which has been one of my favorite new companies, to me at least, in our audience the last year and a half or so. It is Tayson Whittaker. Tayson, welcome to Engearment podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here with you, Sean.
This will be a lot of fun. And Tayson also hosts his own podcast, the Live Ultralight Podcast, which is you can find on podcast formats as well as on YouTube. Really cool interviews. And not only that, but before we were recording, Tayson and I were joking about upping the quality, getting better microphones. We both have Shure microphones here and additional like Sony cameras, and just really wanted to present as best content as possible, audio and video wise, for our interviews. And just for general, it just feels good to put forth the effort and do as best as possible.
Yeah, it's always nice to be able to put together a quality piece, and that's something you've done a great job with over here, Sean.
Oh, I really appreciate that. It's been fun to evolve. Well, with your content, what was your first camera or first audio setup? Exactly.
My cell phone. I mean, to be totally honest, if you go back to the archives of Outdoor Vitals, I mean, first off, you wouldn't recognize the company, but just from the very beginning, I always had this vision that we could create a company that felt like a mom and pop store, but we were able to operate like a bigger corporation on the backside, so that we could create, the products and the opportunities we wanted to for our customers. And so right after getting started, I started filming just in this little duplex we were living in. And I'm literally sitting behind like a coffee table. I'm sitting on a 5-gallon bucket that you can't see. And my window, drapes are the background, and just started filming content. Just how to take care of your down sleeping bag was really the first set of videos that I did. And so it's gone from, old generation 2014, cell phones, and just gone forward from there. So, went into, we've had Sony cameras, we've had GoPros, we've had the 360 cameras, which are a lot of fun now.
Those are fun.
And then now this Sony A7. So,
oh, that's a fun evolution, and I totally respect that. One of our first interviews we did was with Patagonia, and we snuck into at that time SIA. It was like before it integrated with Outdoor Retailer, and we snuck in with a catering company, and we had only our cell phones, and we got the very first meeting with Patagonia like 8 a.m. and it doesn't really open until like 9. And we shot it with our cell phones, got it uploaded at lunch, and it worked, and we've evolved like you have. And just the honest hustle of it all is it's fun to see. That next day we interviewed Cody Townsend for Ski Line of the Year. Everybody had these big cameras, and then we came with our little GoPro on a stick, and got the job done.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about just creating anything is more important than not creating.
Mm-hmm.
But two, I think, there's a lot you can do just with lighting and knowing how to use the camera. I see guys that film stuff on GoPros, and I'm like, man, what camera are you using here? And they tell me, and it's like, man, like they're getting the most out of the equipment they have.
Absolutely. And I'm excited that you guys are using 360 cameras. We've worked with GoPro. They have a new one coming out. I can't say much more than that. But also Insta360, their camera, the X3 is what I currently use. I've been using since the very first one that they released to the consumer level. It's such a fun, creative tool in your pocket. And I love it because we have 4 nieces under age 9. When I shoot footage, I can always get all of them in the frame. I can reframe it however I want to see it. And especially if you have kids and stuff like that, and you want to make sure you get the footage of them. It's a good tool.
So we took that 360 camera, the Insta360, I think it's the RS. And I was just commenting on how good the quality of the footage was. And just essentially that I commented to our videographer and just said, I think this is the best trip we've ever captured. Like, we just got so much footage. It was the best quality footage. And I think that Insta360 was really the difference, because you can set it and run it, and it doesn't take much battery. You can pop a big old SD card in there. And so we get conversations and we get facial expressions that we normally don't get, because you just let it sit there and run for, 20 minutes at a time here and 20 minutes at a time there. And we have a video that will be coming out from the Uinta Highline trip that we did last summer, where we even had to have a conversation where we had to send someone off the trail. They just weren't keeping up, and it was starting to affect what everyone else was trying to do on the trip and the timeline there. And, we're able to run that camera during that kind of a conversation and it not be in your face, it not be, I mean, I don't even think half the group knew that we were recording anything at that point in time, but you're still getting, their facial expressions and the audio. And so they're fun. They're a lot of fun. I think they add a lot to the tool bag.
Oh, for sure. I'm glad to hear you guys are embracing them too. And it takes a place of a full on camera on a gimbal too. Like you don't have to carry this kind of thing around, right? Which is not easy to carry around. But you carry around the Insta360 and it's gimbal like, and you can get some really great shots. And then also like you get the genuine behind the scenes, not staged kind of stuff. It's a good tool. Very good tool.
Yeah,
and it's
a
fun
lot
for
of fun.
hiking and also for like fishing. And in my case, I split boarding, get the one of the split boards right there. It's the best for that because you get the GoPro kind of angle, but then you can give a point of view. You can change a point of view. Yeah, I should be selling these right now.
Well, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, we will. We will for sure. Well, this is exciting. I love the creative aspects and seeing the evolution going from our cell phones to Sony cameras and better microphones and making it all just more presentable. What does it look like for you for creating content? Do you batch it? Do you have like a workflow that you do like every day or once per trip kind of thing?
Yeah. It's been an ongoing process for so many years, and it's changed so much over the years. But at this point, it's getting harder and harder, right? The team size is getting bigger. The tasks and things that come onto my plate, are so much. And so we do the best we can to just streamline things. So Joe, our videographer and director of content, essentially, he does a great job of making my job easier, right? Like having everything set up, I can plug in and whatnot. But we do batch at this point. A lot of our videos are just filmed on trail. So once a month at Outdoor Vitals, we do a team-wide open invite. Anyone can come on a backpacking trip with us, and we'll pay for it. It's time on the clock essentially. And on those trips, though, we are trying to capture as much as we can, whether that's the different types of content. But I mean, there's guys like you doing such a good job now, and there's a lot of guys out there teaching the tips and tricks and that side of things that we've honestly pulled back a little bit on some of those areas that we've done before, and we're shooting a lot more full film style, documentary style type of videos, and so those are obviously just on trail. And so it's been all over the board. I wish that I could say like I just batched it on Fridays only, I did this kind of stuff, but it's really not that way. It's just trying to be as optimal as possible. But it's a lot of time and it's a lot of work. I mean, you can tell why maybe other companies out there don't do it, is there's nothing easy about creating, right? So
Yeah,
it just takes time.
It does take time, especially when you do it at the level you guys are doing. It's fun because not a lot of other gear companies are putting forth the effort to do anything besides this is our jacket and how it looks on a mannequin in the studio, as opposed to like an adventure, like most recently, Australian Alps ultralight packing gear loadout 9 days, 12 pounds. That's nuts. Like,
yeah.
I'm intrigued.
So like we're gonna put stuff like that together as much as we can. Because like just kind of like you said, like you can go out, so you can outsource stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You could outsource, you could pay a sponsored athlete to do some of this stuff, and you could have a media team. But I think for us, it just makes a big deal of difference to be just more transparent and have it coming from us, I guess. And so there is, faces behind the company and I mean, it's a commitment, but it's kind of this long-term goal that we have in what we envision the company to be, I guess. And it really just comes back to kind of that transparency side of things. But I mean, a big goal for us is to get people outside, right? Our purpose is to connect people to the vital outdoors. And as much as I want to say, let me just sell as many widgets as I can, that helps you. I could take you, Sean, into Walmart, and you could easily pick out Walmart gear and have an amazing experience in the outdoors because of the knowledge that you have. And so to us, it's not just one or the other, it's both. And so we do a lot of educating and trying to inspire and reduce the amount of fear people have or apprehension they have by education and by, the experiences that we're taking them on. So
that's fantastic. And I think that that's a really good mission statement about educate and empower to explore the vital outdoors. That's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it's about for us, is I feel like and everyone here on the team feels like we're getting into this day and age where there's so much technology. I mean, just in the last 10 years, like, or 12 years since the introduction of a smartphone, like the level of change from a social perspective, right? Whether that's, just mental health, emotional health, or anything that's connected or touching that, it's sliding, and it's sliding fast. And to us, the yin to the yang to that right there is to get more time outside, to get fully disconnected, to connect with nature. And a lot of people that are religious, that can be a connection to a higher power or something as well. But really, it's just getting that opportunity to fully disconnect and reconnect with yourself and nature.
100% support that for sure. I also run a gym out here in Denver, and we our goal is to get every member of the gym out on the trail, hiking, biking, skiing, snowboarding, on a horse, on whatever, on a paddleboard, just outside. It is integral to the community, training, and the outdoors. It's just for the mental health, the physical health. I wish more people would embrace that and get the heck off their phones and just go out there and look at the tree in the front yard. Doesn't take much.
I just had we might be getting off subject here, but I was just talking to some of my family members over the weekend where I was like, sometimes like you get in this rat race in the sense of like, okay, like I got to work, I got to make more money so that I can buy set like a cabin, let's say, and then I can sit on the porch of the cabin and I could do nothing. Right. And it's like the whole conundrum of, well, I can do that right now. You know what I mean? I could, if I slowed my life down, I could do that right now. And it just happens so often. And I was thinking about even just my old grandmother. I feel like every time we'd pop over to her house, she'd be sitting on her back porch, just in this little lounge chair and just watching the birds in her backyard. And I'm like, man, there is something to that we don't have anymore that I'd love to get back to.
Oh, 100%. I'm with you. I'm fortunate that we have a deck. I get on the deck, and that's my decompression zone, and just stare. I don't have to go anywhere. Just stare at the trees. Oh, I love it. I love that you're embracing the mental health aspect of it too. If we can rewind quite a bit, what was the creation story? What was the why of creating Outdoor Vitals?
It was just that. I mean, as a kid, I grew up in the outdoors. I grew up in this small town of about 6,000 people. I thought I was from the big city because everyone around us was even smaller farming communities. So I remember when I left that town, people would call me like, "Oh, you're a hick, you're a farmer or something." And I'd be like, "What are you talking about? I'm from the big city. Like those guys are the hicks." But no, I spent a lot of time outside. Grew up in Boy Scouts, grew up with a family that was just always out. And so I spent a lot of nights outdoors, not necessarily backpacking, but just outside. And it was always with whatever gear we could muster up. It was yard sale sleeping bags. It was Walmart, whatever we could find there. It was trash bags when it rained. And so when I got older and I started making my own purchasing decisions, in college, I picked up a few quality pieces of gear, and it was like they changed my life. I was like, oh my goodness, this is what people have had. This is what it can be. And it just made me realize that if more people had quality gear, and what I later discovered too is, the knowledge to go with it, it would change their entire experience outdoors, and it would get them outdoors into something that I believed was a critical part of what we need. And so that was really the purpose behind it was, hey, if we can get them into quality gear and do so as a direct to consumer. So in the beginning too, that was a huge part of why we did it direct to consumers, so that we didn't have to pay, retail markups of 40, 50% and add that onto the price of the gear. And so by doing that, by doing it online, we were able to basically get this higher quality tier of product into people's hands and hopefully change their experience. Because the biggest thing that kills me is when I have those conversations I know you've had, because you're an outdoors person and you always hear it. It'll come up when they hear how much time you spend outside or sleeping outside, and they'll say, "Oh, I slept outside once. I froze my butt off and I'll never go back outside. Like I've never camped in the last 30 years ever since I did that." And it kills you because you're just like, that's a lifetime of opportunity. It's a lifetime of life-changing experiences that you've missed out on because of this one bad experience, because of maybe bad gear or because of bad knowledge. And so that really was the foundation of me starting it. And then from there, it was just true bootstrapping. A lot of everyone, starting a business is such a sexy thing nowadays, right? It's like, oh, you go out there, you start a business, you get rich and all, and it's, you raise venture capital and, you're just balling, right? And that was never our story was, we don't want to touch venture capital. That changes our decisions. That changes how we do things. That changes us from looking at what we could build in 10 years to what we could build next quarter. Right. And so it was very much just line upon line. I actually, I hate to even go back this far, but like, I mean, I was ordering samples out of factories and selling those to gain viability of if this was a business or not that I could pursue and make it work. Right. And so then from there it was, okay, let's see if we can run a small batch of something you're already running and take the logo off. I mean, it was that level. But thankfully, I was able to do that long enough and bootstrap it long enough that we got to the point where in 2018, we released the LoftTech jacket. And that was actually released on Kickstarter, which is like a pre-sale platform. And we pre-sold between that and Indiegogo $1 million worth of that jacket.
Wow.
So before we'd ever shipped it, we'd already sold $1 million of this jacket. And that was really the opportunity and the turning point that I was able to jump on and create what I always wanted to build, which is what it is today. And so we took that opportunity to go and leverage and get into some of the most premium fabric and cut and sew facilities in the world. And we took that opportunity to go and hire a full-time designer, because I was designing all the gear at that point. And just build the team in all those ways that are critical. And so then from about 2019 on, it was okay, redesigning old gear. It was creating new gear. And then about 2020 till now, it's people have actually been able to see and get their hands on this quality of product that we're producing now. So that's it in a nutshell. Really, I'd love to say our story started in 2018, but it was true bootstrap before that. So
I like that it was a bootstrap and you didn't take any funding from anybody else, like you mentioned. So you're not inclined to appease them and do it the way you want to do it, which I think is just the best way to go about it. And I love how you're taking the things and just re-evolving them. And one of the questions I want to bring up is, how do you even design the gear? Is it out of necessity? So you're backpacking like, oh man, I really wish that the pocket was a little bit higher or a little bit lower, or the chin guard was higher. Let's see if we can create that. Or do you see other things in other companies like, oh, that's a good idea for the hood, the semi-stiffened, and incorporate that as well?
I would say all of our best ideas, best innovations have come from trail time, right? Like I mentioned, we go out on trail as a team at least once a month. We hike 100 miles as a team once a year. And that's so there's those aspects, right? And then you get the right cultural fits in the company, and they're going out on their own time. So our best ideas come from that. But I would also say, we're not opposed or, just going to put ourselves in total isolation, where we want to know what other people are doing. We want to know what technologies are out there. And we have our own group of people that we trust, which is a pretty small list, because Brigham, our product designer, he's maybe not the most trusting person. So he has a very small group of people that he will, send product to and let them test it out and give feedback as well. So, but we really try to keep everything very close to ourselves and real world experiences. We'll look at laboratory testing from factories or from whatever it is, but then we want to go and prove that ourselves in the field. And so we do a lot of that. And then I'd say the other side of that, though, is when you spend that much time outdoors and then you go and you sit down with fabric mills and you sit down with any cut and sew facility or product manufacturing partner, sometimes it can feel as easy as connecting dots when you see a new technology. You're just like, oh my goodness, this is perfect. This is what we've been missing. Yeah. But that has to come from a place of experience, right? So one of our best-selling products is our Ventus Active Hoodie. And that piece was one that, like, we showed up, we looked at some newer tech that was presented to us, and we said, holy crap, this is going to be a game changer. And what if we added these few things? And it almost felt like to me and the designer here, Brigham, that we had that piece designed in minutes, and then it was just like, testing it, improving it and stuff. But it almost felt like you're just connecting dots. And that piece has just been absolutely phenomenal. And it really resides in its own category. But that comes in part too from having fantastic manufacturing partners that trust us to bring new things to market at times.
Oh, that's fun. I love it. I love when it comes together easily like that. And I'm sure that's very infrequent.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. There's different products, especially too. Like you get into backpacks, and it's just a totally different ball game where you got hundreds of pieces,
Oh,
getting
yeah.
sewn together.
And then the durability aspects, maybe you find recycled material, but that doesn't hold up as well for your target audience, what they're going to do with it. I can't imagine what
Yeah,
that. Well, speaking of gear, you have quite a few things coming out in 2023. Can we talk about any of the stuff coming up?
I will do my best to give as much detail as I can, but
Wonderful. Well, I've been very fortunate to have tested some stuff here in the last 4 or 5 months, and I really enjoy it. And how I apply it is in the winter camping and split boarding and hiking over here in Colorado. And then, so I'm really excited about some of the new stuff coming up. Sleeping pad. Just
yeah. So we just released the sleeping pad. That's something that's been in development for quite some time. And really the core focus on that piece was comfort, getting quality sleep. If you take a survey, like 80% of people sleep on their side, but then so many of them buy like a 2-inch thick pad and struggle with it. And so for us, it was just all about comfort and then improving the comfort of our previous pad and then increasing the warmth value from our previous pad as well. And so we put some newer technology for, at least for us, it's been out in the market a little bit, with an insulation. It's an insulation that then is bonded to a non-woven, and then there's a metallicized film on the other side of it. So that's our insulation piece in the pad. And then we also coated the top fabric with a silver coating, a reflective coating as well. And so that gives you just a little bit more of an edge for warmth. And so the overall piece though is we changed to an eye baffle construction, kind of like a quilted looking construction,
okay.
which really improved just overall comfort and its ability to absorb, discomforts from underneath or just you're laying on it. And then we really increased the R value. We didn't actually have our previous pad R value tested. It was such an old design, but at least 10 to 15 degrees warmer in the field than that pad. So that piece has been awesome. I've been sleeping on it exclusively for quite some time now. I mean, every trip in the last 12 months, and it's been my favorite pad. As a guy who gets his base weight down to 10 pounds or less, that's one area that I'm all in on the comfort of that pad. I will take a freestanding tent, which I actually prefer now, or cut weight in other categories or use a quilt, which I prefer now about 9 months out of the year. But I will take a big comfortable pad.
I'm with you on that. I think it's a crucial thing to have the sleeping covered, especially you're in Utah, I'm in Colorado. It can get pretty cold at night, especially fall, winter camping for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I just took that pad out on that cross country ski trip, put a Nemo switchback closed cell foam pad underneath it. And I think we got down to -2, -3 degrees, and it did great.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Wow. Well, that's exciting. Well, I'm actually going to do a camping trip this weekend with some riders. We're going to do some backcountry skiing and splitboarding at a local area called Bluebird here, which is like a ski resort, but no mechanical advantage. It's all human powered. And
Wow.
yeah, it's a really cool resource. So and they do mitigation too for avalanche control and stuff. So it's a good place for beginners to go. But long story longer, it's going to be camping in the snow, in the cold, and they provide bacon, which is pretty cool.
I'm sold, man.
Yeah, bacon
I'm
in
sold.
backcountry. Yeah, that'd be a cool place to shoot a video for your sleeping pad there. Oh, good
Yeah, for
stuff.
real.
Yeah, you're pushing it negative temperature. That's no joke. Everything's freezing. All the water bottles are freezing, and gets demoralizing if you expose your skin at all.
Yeah. Yeah. We love to go out and do those trips. They're hard, but we make sure to do at least a couple of them a year and just push the limits on the products. We feel like it's our moral obligation to do that, where it's like, hey, if we're telling you this is a 0-degree bag, or if we're telling you this pad is good for this, then we want to be the ones pushing the limits, not our customers.
100%. That's some great integrity right there. Speaking of backpacks, 2 backpacks, it looks like, right?
Yes. So there are some sneak peeks coming out on that. In fact, a video that will come out in the next couple of days, you'll be able to see a new pack. And I think that might be like the first real sneak peek, but it's, obviously you're going to see it's a different fabric. It's an ultra fabric, and Really, this was set on kind of satisfying. We released the Shadow Light, which has been a phenomenal pack for us, but there's still a lot of through hikers and people that want, you know, to reduce some of the things off of it, maybe the upper pockets or the zipper, which I always find funny, right? There's a lot of people like on our Shadow Light, they're like, oh, the zipper's a failure point. We've had exactly 0 issues warranted zippers on our Shadow Light pack. And it's been something that's used in military packs for years and all sorts of things. But so there's some people like that, so we took our, what we feel like we do really well is that we make sure that the load carry on a pack is done very well. So there's a lot of packs out there that are frameless. There's a lot of packs out there that use like an 18-inch frame. And, you know, our background is actually in being sportsmen, right? So we're taking game out of the field, and you can have 100 to 150 pound packs. And so you learn a lot about load carry. And so when me and Brigham get into, you know, ultralight stuff, and even if we've got a 10-pound base weight, you've got food. And then in Utah, you can have water carries of, you know, 6 liters at a time or more. And so you can still get a pack that gets up there close to 30 pounds. And so we just feel like load carry is incredibly important. So we have tall frames on our packs, 23-inch, 24-inch frames, that really transfer that load off your shoulders down to your hips. And so this pack will be really interesting because it gives an incredibly ultralight pack to still have a phenomenal frame and load carry system inside of it. And then just has some of those newer, sexier materials too in it. I mean, we really held back nothing when it came to the costing of this product. I won't tell you what our price will be, but you know, if this was a retail product, if any other, you know, retail based company was going to be selling that pack, it'd be a $600 pack. Oh, wow. So it's going to be a fun pack to release. So that's pack number 1.
I'm already intrigued. I'm in on that one. And there's more.
Yeah. Pack number 2 is one that we have been testing, and people have seen it for quite a few years because, you know, when we first decided to develop a fast pack, we went out and did a 60-mile fast packing trip as a team, and, you know, just got used to what fast packing is. And that was really kicked it off. And so that's a documented video on our YouTube channel. But really, this pack is interesting. For those of you that don't know what fast packing is essentially just trying to cover as many miles as you can at its simplest form. But a lot of times that looks like maybe even jogging downhill, maybe jogging some flats, and then just power hiking the uphills. So you're just trying to push the limits of speed on trail. And so there's some things that really start to matter with it though, such as, again, load carry. Is the pack bouncing? How does the harness feel? All of those types of things. And we've really just been fine tuning that for like 2 years now. And we're really excited to finally release this pack because its harness system is just phenomenal. We don't get any bounce. You don't get any shaking in the pack. And then we introduced some new fabrics on that too, which I won't touch on just yet, but yeah, just a really, really fun pack. I mean, I train with it a lot. And then when we're going out to do quick, you know, 1 to 2 night trips where we're just covering a lot of miles, that pack is phenomenal for that.
Well, that's exciting. We have a lot of ultra runners and fast packers on our team that be very interested in that. And on the first one, we have a lot of bow hunters as well. And so, like, to your point, you know, best case scenario, you're coming back with additional weight. So I like that you guys take pride in the ability to carry weight.
Yeah, it's wild to us. Just the amount of packs that are out there that, I mean, they don't even have like a load lifter strap on the pack. They'll have a frame and no load lifter strap, or, you know, it's just like, I don't know. I don't understand
something. Yeah.
You know, I don't quite understand, but yeah, ultra runners. So I went and ran my first ultra marathon last year, and at the event, we set up a booth the night before when they're doing signups to ask people, hey, like, or have you ever heard of fast packing? Are you interested in fast packing? And we're just taking some survey data. And yeah, there's a lot of ultra runners that are already aware of fast packing, or that could easily be swayed to start fast packing because they're so addicted to the running and to getting outdoors. And it's like, wait, I could go this much further. I could go through this wilderness area or something like that with a fast pack. And so a lot of ultra runners have shown a lot of interest, which is cool.
Nice. Well, very intrigued so far. And the Windbreaker, you guys are pretty excited on this Windbreaker.
Yeah, the Windbreaker, I mean, it's like in transit to us right now. So it shouldn't be long before it's out. And this piece, to define, I guess, what's slightly different about, or what really makes it, right? A windbreaker is not much to it, right? It's really the fabric, right? The fabric is everything. There's a chest pocket on it, and you can add features, you can take away features, but it's a pretty minimal design. Comes in at like 4 or 5 ounces, but the fabric itself is really what makes it. So it's a Japanese fabric. What's interesting is the company that makes it for us, our one of our fabric mills, they have, mills in China as well as in Japan and other places. And even the same company trying to make the same fabric in China, they can't replicate like what this mill can do in Japan. And so we switched to this fabric and started testing it, and it's absolutely incredible. It's significantly more breathable than other fabrics we've already been using that have been in production, to the tune of it's either 10 or 20 times more breathable than these other ones, laboratory testing like numbers, right? But it's just incredibly breathable, still blocks the wind really, really well. And so for us, where we use a windbreaker is typically high output activity. You're cross country skiing, you're running, you're actively hiking, but it's not necessarily the piece that you're sitting around camp with. And so that breathability factor, being able to block the wind but still stay breathable, is really what makes that piece so unique and so good in the field. So it's been a phenomenal piece. Really excited to bring that out. And that one, I mean, it'll be released in March. So,
oh, cool. Sign me up for that. That sounds great. I've kind of gotten away from wind blockers because they can get clammy, but I've noticed a lot of the ones with like the Pertex Air and such, which will have like 20 or 30 CFM of breathability. So
yeah,
a good amount.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is a 20 CFM.
Great. So yeah, block the wind, still be able to breathe.
It makes a huge difference though. Like to your point there, as they really can, like we tested, to begin with, we'll typically go out, order some of the ones that are the highest rated and reviewed, and we'll take them back and use them and go from there. And like the last thing you want to be doing is just trapping moisture inside of that piece. And a lot of them out there seem to do that. And so with this piece, it's really impressive that it still has such a high level of water resistancy with no coating, or like it'll have a DWR coating, but like as far as not just how to say that, anyways, without having to put any additional coatings on there, it retains a very high, rain pass test. So it's impressive.
Cool. Nice weave. Very intriguing stuff so far. Let me see what's next. I have notes on carbon fiber poles for the 40th tent.
Yep, those are released now. So if you're not a trekking pole guy, you can add, I think it's about 4 ounce per pole. So for 8 ounces, you can pitch our 40th tents now without trekking poles. So that's something that, there's those that just don't use trekking poles. There's sportsmen, right, that are going out in the field. Maybe they want to keep their trekking poles with them during the daytime. And so it's really nice. And at the same time we released those, we actually brought on some new aluminum stakes that are made by Easton for us here, actually in Utah. And I'm adamant about having a quality stake with a freestanding tent. And so these I've been using them for 3 years now, and they have just been amazing. I think I've had 2 bend in like 3 years. One of them my wife bent, and one of them I blame someone else still. But they're super light. They're about the same weight as like a 6-inch, lightweight aluminum stake, but you get a 9-inch stake. Just gives you that much more ability to get them in the ground. But both of those have been, are just really complementary to a freestanding shelter. And, if you haven't, not a freestanding shelter, a trekking pole style shelter. But if you haven't used a trekking pole style shelter, I once you start to use them, I feel like it's hard to go back because they just save so much weight and space in your pack. And as long as you understand, pitching them and stuff, I've never had any issues.
No, I agree. When you guys sent that over to the 40th tent, I was super excited, but I made the mistake of bringing it to I was getting beers with some of the riders, and I put it on the table. And one of my colleagues, Will Rickards, who is a very adamant tarp and trekking pole tent kind of guy, he's way more hardcore than I am, saw that and took it. And he's been using it all since you guys sent it over. he's enjoying the heck out of it, him and his son Kai and his dog Baggins. So you'll have a good video for that pretty soon. But yeah,
that's awesome.
They're fun setups, especially I think if we got him those poles, it'd be great because he uses his poles during the day, Rainier, wherever he's going next. So yeah, it's a good idea to have those poles.
Well, we better get a list together to see what we need to send you next. But yeah, we can definitely get you poles, or if he's never going to give it back, we may have to get you a second tent. So
Yeah, I'll get it done quicker than he is. He does like these long-term missions, and it's really impressive. I'm like, dude, it's been like 3 months. Can you just give us some feedback? Give us something. But
right.
he's a hoot. Anything else coming up do you want to talk about?
Let's see. We've got so our altitude sun hoodie, which is what I'm wearing right now. That's going to come out in a short sleeve and a long sleeve. Without the hood. That'll be a little bit later this year. I know there's more that I'm just not thinking of. I mean, we just have a constant list of things we're going through, but I think those are the big ones for now. So
yeah, that's quite an impressive amount of stuff right there. And then when they come out, they'll be on the website. Will there be any kind of like teasers on social media or on YouTube for getting people stoked on them?
yeah. So the best way to get like real teasers on stuff is definitely to be just subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll just see stuff like we won't comment on it. We won't tell you what it is or anything like that, but you'll just be like, what the heck is this white backpack he's wearing all of a sudden? Like, that's not the Shadow Light, that's not their pack. And so you get teasers in that way. And then obviously if you're a Live Ultralight member on our membership or just on our email list, you'll get teasers as well. And we definitely send out more and more of those as we get closer to launch. So
that's wonderful. And it's a great YouTube channel too. I'm a subscriber, and everybody should be as well. A couple more questions before I get you back to your day to day. What is like essential in your kit for overnight, just for you?
Essential in my kit. I feel like, maybe we're going for a different direction here, but like, I don't take much that's not essential for me personally. Yeah. What I typically do is I will get my base weight to 10 pounds, and then I'll add in about 2 pounds of what I would consider a luxury item. So that might be a pound in an Helinox chair. That might be, a pair of binoculars or something on a trip. That might be, anything like that. Right. So that's like my 3-season kit that's typically how it works. In the winter, I'll be taking more layers and things, but, yeah, do you want to go in a specific direction with like essential?
Well, no, I think that the binoculars is a good twist. I use a Nox, like a monocular. It's pretty cool. Yeah. And then I have a little snow adapter kit, so I can do like a microscope so I can study snow too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll have to get you hooked up with those guys. They make really good stuff, and it's a little bit more compact than the binoculars, and you can still get the range for glassing or whatever, and then get the snow study. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've never heard of being able to, use that in a microscope type of a sense. I just barely actually picked up a monocular because I've been using some smaller lightweight ones, but I'm like, oh, I don't spend like a lot of time. I think I'd be happy with the monocular, so I am going to try that out. But I'd never heard of being able to slap something on there to look at close stuff. So that's really interesting.
Totally. I'll link you guys up after this is over. Yeah, cool company. Yeah. No, really cool. Well, the next question I had kind of on line with this. Do you take the kids camping?
Yeah, yes, I do. In fact, my wife was just messaging me this morning asking if I was still going to take them camping this weekend because it's scheduled to snow like from now until the weekend. But yeah, I love to take the kids out, and really anytime I go out there with them, it's just how do I make this the best possible experience for them so that they learn to love this stuff, right? And I think the first couple of times, because my kids are young, I've got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, but the first times I was taking them out, I was real nervous that they'd, get bored, they'd get cold, they'd get, these different things. But really they just thrive. Kids love being outdoors when there's just, there's just nothing around. And, my boy, you start a fire and he won't go anywhere. He'll just sit there and feed that fire all night, but it's a great time. But yeah, it's been fun too, just because what I love to do is, we've always, I do have a trailer and we'll camp in that and we'll sometimes car camp, but it's a lot of fun to backpack with them as well. And that's really where it gets special in terms of like, dad time but yeah, I think that's also just another one of those solid reasons to be packing ultralight, right? Because
Mhm.
I can pack in the gear for him, I can pack in the gear for me, and he literally the last 2 years that I've taken him, at least my boy, that is, he will carry just his school backpack, and I'll let him pick out a candy from the store that's in his backpack. And so the only thing he carried last year was a bag of high chews and a water bottle.
Oh, I love it. Well, it empowered him. It worked. That's great. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
he
really
loved it.
exciting. Unlike you, I do a lot of camping with other friends, and they bring their kids ages 2 through 10, and they naturally gravitate to the outdoors, and they love it. It's so beautiful to see. Are there any kind of tips or like gear that you recommend to get kids more comfortable, or first time parents going out with their kids?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just keeping them warm and keeping them fed is like the two biggest things. So what I'll the areas where I'll add weight, right? Because like I say, I'll usually peel back my base weight as much as I can, and then I'll start adding weight. So I'll add weight for things um, like a quality fleece onesie, right? Or something
Oh
for them to
yeah,
sleep in. That's
yeah.
just like, it doesn't really compress that well or whatever, but it's just a really good base layer for them to sleep in. So there's that aspect of it. I'll always make sure they have just good layers. Um, and usually that means like not as nice as of layers. Like their clothes takes up as much space as my clothes, even though they're a fraction of my size, because it's harder to get kids really high end stuff when they're growing so fast. But
Oh yeah.
so I'll usually take in more weight and bulk there, and then just going back to like the food aspect, really bringing along quality food. So my boy loves the Peak Refuel meals. And I mean, he looks forward to those a lot. And then I'll let him pick out different candy and stuff like that for him to eat. And, I think if you take on those two things, they do well. Sometimes, and sadly, like this is the world we live in, where it's like, oh, like let's watch something on your phone, dad. Let's watch something. And it's like, no, that's not here. That's not what this is about.
Yeah.
Let's go throw rocks in the lake. And, they might push back at first, but I'm always amazed at how quickly that can fade out of their mind and come right back into just being present in nature. And so to me, there's way more anxieties than needs to be there.
Yeah.
There's a few bases to cover, but it's not as scary as I think people realize. Like this weekend, it's going to be me solo with a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old out there, and we'll be fine. We'll have a good time. But I think other people see that and think that that's insane. And it's just it's not as hard, I think, as people give it credit at times, and it's totally doable. And I think kids adapt. Like they
Mhm.
realize that you're one person and you're trying to do everything and to take care of everyone, and they're they're aware of their surroundings, and like it doesn't have to be perfect. You know what I mean?
That's very encouraging on a lot of levels, and I think that the patience to let that digital desire dissipate is really awesome. Because I have watched a lot of parents be like, okay, fine, here's Encanto on the iPad. They're quiet for an hour
Yeah.
or two, as opposed to just
Yeah.
weathering the storm, so to speak, and then letting them immerse back in nature. So I think it's very encouraging, and also that you're doing it solo. The two kiddos, 3 and 6, that's incredible. I've watched my friends do that, and I hope more people see that and get inspired by that and see it's totally doable. And to your point, doesn't have to be perfect, not all mapped out and everything. Just taking care of the basics and having fun with them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's totally possible if you're willing to take it on.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. We've covered a lot of fun stuff here, Tayson. Of course, the gear, which is important, we covered that, but the very helpful, tangible stuff that can affect everybody who's getting out camping. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the conversation here?
Um, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I really enjoy what you do. You review so much gear, and you touch so many different companies out there, right? Like you're dealing with I mean, you're producing more content than I feel like I've ever seen just be produced in general. So it's really, really amazing. But yeah, I mean, just maybe one thing to leave us off with, just going back to Outdoor Vitals, I think our goal definitely is still going to be to grow, but it's not growth. It's never growth over anything else,
Mhm.
meaning Meaning we do have that opportunity to set our sights on what we look like in 10 years and focus on that, right? I am, the sole owner, me and my wife, and you know, we can make those kind of decisions without being swayed to, hey, we need to boost revenue to this, or we need to, you know, be more aggressive over here. We got to boost profits, or we got to bolster it up so that we can sell the company every couple of years, right? Like that's most people don't realize that investment companies are flipping their company every 3 to 5 years. And so you'll see a company get bolstered up and they'll start firing people, they'll cut costs, and then they'll sell it. And then, and then it's a new management. It's a different thing. And so, I think that is, it's kind of sad to me to see that that's the day and age that we're in of just this constant flipping. And I had a friend, this is top of mind this week, because I had a friend who asked me a similar question on this. And I was thinking, okay, I was trying to answer this back, and I tried to find another private company in our space. And I was like, oh yeah, these guys. And I Googled them, like, oh no, they've taken money, and Googled these guys, and oh no, they've taken money. And I literally couldn't find one. And so the only one that I really that I look up to personally, and not that like we have the same values or anything like that, but what they've been able to do is Patagonia. And you look at what Patagonia has been able to do over their 40 plus years, it's absolutely phenomenal. And it's the benchmark to us, right? Because they can keep the focus on what they want to keep it on. And for them, it's saving the planet, right? And they've done more good than any company ever has in terms of what their goals were and their purpose was. And so really that's our hope. It's not that we go take money and then we just like quadruple our advertising. And so we're like forcing our product down people's throats. It's no, we want to make the best performing products that speak for themselves. We want to create content, but really it's all about just getting people outside and getting them connected with the vital outdoors. And I don't know, I just would encourage people to think about some of those aspects when they're making purchases, because I think it's your dollars are what you're voting with, right? And I'm excited for what we have the opportunity to become over the next decades of time, because, thankfully for us, our values don't need to change. And if we ever got to a point where it felt like they did, then we'd pull back. You know what I mean? We have stop gates in to actually keep us from growing too fast, even at this point. So we're willing to do that in the name of long term. So it's an interesting conversation. It's an interesting thing that I don't think a lot of people think about, but the landscape has changed, and it's something that people should keep top of mind.
I love it. And I couldn't agree more about Patagonia. Doing what they say they want to do, doing it right, and leading the way for people like us, like you, to enjoy and find inspiration from. So that's a good shout out to them. But I love what you guys are doing, and the products, the clothing, the gear that you're creating, it's so functional and it's so well made. The materials are great. I know, because I study other companies and I see the Toray here and I see the things over here. I'm like, that's legit stuff. And the price point, very fair. There'll be a video up here later this week comparing some down jackets. And again, yours come out to the top. It's just hard to beat, So you're doing really good things over there, and I keep up the good work for sure.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and I've appreciated the reviews and things you guys have put out. And it speaks a lot to like what you're picking up on, and what it's always fun to send out a product and then you see like what people review it back on, and it tells you a lot about them and like what they pick up on. And I feel like you've really grasped like what the Nova jacket line is, and not a lot of people catch up on those nuances. And so I think that speaks volumes, just the amount of product you put your hands on, the amount of time you spend outside, and the quality of the stuff you're putting out.
That means a lot, man. Thank you, Tayson. That made my day. Makes it all worthwhile, all the hard work behind the scenes. Well,
Totally.
I hope to do this more often with you. There's a lot to share. I know we're just kind of riffing and having a good time even before we push record. There's so much to cover. A lot of good things in the future. And of course, I'll put links to the Outdoor Vitals YouTube channel, as well as the podcast that Tayson hosts. And I'll put links to the reviews we've currently done and things we will do in the future, so people, our audience, can learn more about these products and see how we use them and what we think about them, not just myself, but other members on our team, that men and women of different backgrounds. So a lot to look forward to. Tayson, thank you for your time very much for being on the Engearment podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sean.
My pleasure. To all you out there, stay tuned for another Engearment podcast. Until next time, Take care.